What's up, everybody? I'm Lori Brumfield, and I want to have a little heart-to-heart with you guys. So one of the things that I've been wanting to do on my channel is just have more videos where I'm just being more transparent with you guys, and I'm sharing with you things that maybe I have been through and I've learned from, but some of the things maybe I am going through, like currently, like kind of what we're going to talk about today. And some of the things that I'm having struggles with, and challenges in my life that I'm having to learn from as a believer, as a Christian, because we don't have it all together. I certainly don't anyway. And so today I want to talk about anxiety and depression, because it is definitely something that I have struggled with quite a bit, more on the anxiety side of things, but since becoming pregnant, because hormones, like pregnancy hormones, are whack, you guys. They will mess with you. And they really have been messing with me. And so I've definitely struggled with more of like anxiety and depression side, where some days I'm great. I mean, some days I wake up and I'm like, yeah, I'm feeling productive. I'm feeling good. Everything looks bright and sunny, and then other days I wake up for no reason, or it seems like just no reason, and I'm just sad. And I don't feel motivated to do anything. And it's just, the day is a struggle for me. So if you're watching this right now, I'd love to hear from you. Are you experiencing anxiety, depression now? Is that something that you have experienced? Maybe that's something that you struggle with often. I'd love to hear from you guys on this, because I think that a lot more of us Christians, we struggle with anxiety and depression than I think is talked about. I don't think it's something that's talked about enough. I think it's something that for a lot of us, I don't know, maybe we have this idea that like, if you're a Christian, you should be happy and joyful and full of peace all the time. Because, as we talk about, right? Like, like having joy as a believer and having peace as a believer and all of these things. Like, I think that we should have that. But we're people, we're humans, and we go through stuff, just like life junk. And we don't always experience that. I think for some of us, it can be due to circumstances. For some of us, it can be due to health stuff. It can be hormonal. It's just gonna be all kinds of different things. And so this video, by the way, is not meant to like diagnose you or like tell you how to fix your anxiety and depression or anything like that. That is not what this is about. This video is honestly just to share with you that you can be both a Christian, you can love the Lord very much, you can spend time with Him, spend lots of time in His Word, you can spend lots of time in prayer, you can be someone who's in ministry, and you still can deal with anxiety and depression for a ton of different reasons. And so just because you're a believer doesn't mean that you're not going to experience these things. And I wish that wasn't the case, but that's just the reality. One thing, though, that I really wanted to share with you guys, because this is something that helps me a lot, and it is looking at the people who have also loved the Lord, characters in the Bible, people who loved the Lord, they served Him, they were used in incredible ways by the Lord, and yet they also dealt with anxiety and depression. And so that encourages me, right? It like helps me to see like, okay, I don't have to have it all together to be used by God. I don't have to pretend that I'm happy all the time. So I wanted to share with you a few different characters from the Bible. I say characters, but just people, real people who lived, who had their own life stories that is documented in God's Word, and they struggle with anxiety and depression. So I hope that you will be able to see that you are absolutely like not alone. This has been going on for a long time, right? So the first one is David, which you might know him as like the awesome guy who like slayed the giant, right? With a slingshot. Great warrior, like this king, like obviously used by God. He was anointed, the whole deal. He's just like this super duper, like famous king warrior dude. Okay, but he suffered from anxiety and depression, and there were several times where he experienced this, okay? Some of it, was it his own doing or as a result of his own doing? Yes, okay? But some of it was as a result of just like circumstances, like people trying to, when you're a king, I assume people wanted to, they want to take power, right? They want like what you have. And so he experienced lots of different circumstances that brought about his anxiety and his depression. And we can read about those in the Psalms. He wrote a lot about it. It seems like he reminds himself of who God is. And I love that. I think that's so important, that when we're dealing with anxiety and depression, like it's so easy. Like for me anyway, I'll tell you, there are times where I will wake up and I'm just like, I don't know, I'm just really hard on myself, just like extra hard on myself, and I'll just think, oh my gosh, like I'm not making any difference on YouTube, or I'm not making any difference on the Facebook groups, or, oh, I'm a terrible mom, or I'm a terrible wife, or I'm just, it's like I just fill my head with all of these all the things that I'm bad at, right? And yeah, I'm not perfect. That's absolutely true. But those are the things that I tend to focus on when I'm experiencing anxiety and depression. But I love that David, he tends to kind of like, he'll spell all that stuff out and like pour his heart out in that, like, yes, I'm depressed. Yes, I'm feeling all of this stuff. But then it seems like he kind of turns it around and he'll remind himself of who God is, and how God is like, he is his salvation. And I have to do that for myself. I have to remind myself, like, okay, but it's not about how awesome I am. It's never been about that. Even on my good days, it's not about how great Lori is at any of these things. It's about how great God is. And then there's the story of Hannah. Man, I love her story. She didn't have any children, and she desperately wanted children. And so this other lady is like over here popping out babies left and right. It seems like anyways. And she's bullying Hannah because Hannah can't have kids. I mean, like, right? Like that's hard enough when you're just trying to have children and you're seeing other people around you getting pregnant like all the time. I know that's a struggle in itself. But then you have those same women giving you a hard time because you can't have a child. I mean, this is what Hannah was experiencing. And she was so depressed. The Bible talks about how she couldn't even like eat. Like, have you ever been like that where you're just like so down, you're so depressed that you don't even want to eat. You just can't stomach any food, right? But this was Hannah. And she basically goes and she's praying, and she couldn't even be understood. Like the priest thought she was drunk because she was just sobbing so hard while she was praying. And he accused her of being drunk. And she was like, no, I'm not drunk. I'm just pouring my heart out to God because I'm so depressed. And I do love what it says, though, is that after she prayed, it says that she got up and her countenance was changed. It was different. There was something in that where she poured her heart out to God, and her joy was restored, and she was able to go. And it said, and it was very specific, it said that she was able to eat and drink. And so where before she wasn't even able to like eat or drink because she was so discouraged, but she poured her heart out to God. And when she left there, she decided she was going to leave all of her burdens, all of her troubles, all of her worries, and everything that was causing her that grief. She was going to leave it there, and she got up and she was able to eat and drink, and her joy was able to be restored. And spoiler alert, she did get pregnant. She did have a baby. So I love that story. But then you have this guy named Elijah, and man, this guy's story blows me away. Like, okay, he's so cool that he doesn't even die. Okay? He like just goes up to heaven in a chariot of fire. Like, that's how awesome Elijah is. And yet he also experienced anxiety and depression. So he is actually being chased, right? Okay. And by Jezebel, she basically says, yeah, you're going to die. I'm going to make sure that you die. I'm going to make sure that you get killed. So she hates Elijah. And so Elijah, he becomes so depressed. It also says that he can't eat or drink. He actually gets so depressed that he literally asks God for him to die. Like, he wants to die. He's ready. He's not ready to just like give up his ministry. He's ready to die. That's how depressed this guy is. And I mean, God has to like come to him and make sure that he like eats, like, tries to put him back on his path, right? He ends up going and he like hides in a cave for a long time. And like, I mean, God has to keep coming back and keep encouraging him and trying to put him back on his path. And so it took a little while for Elijah to kind of get up and really get going again. But obviously in the end, it all worked out for him because, like I said, he went up in a chariot of fire. So, but these guys, look, I mean, they're used of God. Like, God showed up in their life. We see their stories and we see how their lives made such an impact, and yet they had times in their lives where they struggled with anxiety and depression. And so, I mean, for some of us, you may only deal with it like once in your life. I don't know. There may be just a season where you deal with it. For others, it may be a daily struggle. It may be your entire life. And so whatever you're in, whatever it is that you're dealing with, I just want to encourage you that if you are a follower of Christ, don't be ashamed that you're dealing with that. Don't be ashamed that that's your struggle. We all have struggles. I do deal with anxiety, and I do experience depression from time to time as well. But there are also other things that I struggle with too. And people that don't struggle with anxiety, depression, and maybe they don't understand what you're going through. You know what? They have their own stuff that they deal with, right? Their own stuff that keeps them down and holds them back. And so we all have that. And there's no reason for us to pretend like we all have it together when we just don't. We are created to have fellowship with one another, right? To have community. And a part of that, of having that community, is being able to carry one another's burdens, right? To be able to share with one another and encourage one another. That is important. We've got to do that for one another. So in order for us to be able to do that, we've got to feel comfortable sharing and expressing what it is that we're going through, and to give other people an opportunity to love us and encourage us and fight with us and pray with us through these difficult situations. And so I hope that you've been encouraged today. And if you are struggling with this now, make sure that you comment down below so that we can be praying for you. And hey, say a prayer for me too. Because like I said, I mean, these pregnancy hormones have been really tough, and I do feel like I'm kind of like getting out of it, because now I'm like in that second trimester. So the second trimester is definitely easier for me than the first trimester, where you're like sick all the time, and it was just, it's just rough for, I think, all women when they're in their first trimester of pregnancy. So now I'm doing okay, but there are still days where I wake up and I'm just like, I don't want to do anything, and I'm just struggling. So anyways, if that's you, comment down below, say hi, and I'd love to hear a little bit of your story too. And I will see you guys again next time. Bye.